Hello, it's me again with my notepad. What have I got written here? 14 centigrade, which is 57.8, I think, Fahrenheit. 100% humidity, so it should be very wet, but it's not. 1025 millibars on the barometer. On the barometer, a few people have asked recently, the lower the pressure, the more chance of rain and horrible weather. The higher the pressure, the more chance of sunshine and brighter weather. The flag is sort of breezing around a little bit with a bit of draft from the west. That's all it is, a bit of draft. It's not doing much. Dull, overcast. Cherry tree is not moving much, losing a lot of its leaves though. I'm out there every day sweeping up fig tree leaves, cherry tree leaves, Boston ivy leaves, and so it goes on. But that's autumn for you, the fall. I've got a lot to get through in this quick midweek message. So without further ado, earwigs. Earwigs, you're saying? Do you remember earwigs? I don't see earwigs. I haven't seen an earwig in the house for decades. When I was young, there were earwigs everywhere, crawling up the hall by the skirting board. Apparently, when I was 2 years old, I used to eat earwigs. Now, there's a thing. Not a good idea, I wouldn't have thought. Do you have earwigs where you are? Do you have earwigs abroad, or is it just a UK thing? Are they UK wigs? Haven't seen one for years. Silverfish. They used to be prominent. I see one or two now. Well, not even that a year, I suppose. They're very rare now. They've all gone. What is it? Is it double glazing? The houses are all sealed with rubber seals around the doors and windows. Things can't get in. I don't know. Just a thought, though. Have you seen an earwig recently? Ray's Rants at protonmail.com. That reminds me, there was something else I ate once when I was, about 3 years old, I suppose. Deadly nightshade berries. Aren't they lovely? Don't they look nice? Very dark, deep purple. They look like blackcurrants. Really nice. Anyway, apparently, I decided to try a few. It made me ill, very ill. Apparently, I survived. That's why I'm still here, obviously. But keep your kids and keep yourself away from deadly nightshade berries. I have seen quite a lot in the countryside. Easy to spot. They look like juicy blackcurrants, but keep away from them. Why do children eat everything? They put everything in their mouths, don't they? Whatever they find, put it in the mouth. What's that like? Oh, don't like that. Spit that out. What's this like? Oh, that's the cat's food. Oh, that's nice. I like cat food. Anyway, moving on from kids eating things, I have a whole list here, as I said. Friends, Ray. You mentioned friends from school in your email. Told me a lovely story, well, a horrible story about a friend of yours. I had a very, very similar thing. Friend at school. We met every day, either on the way to school. We'd cycle or walk to school together. If we missed each other that way, we'd meet in the playground at a certain spot. One morning I was waiting in the playground. I saw him, I shouted out, "Hiya." He looked over to me, turned back to this other boy he was with and totally ignored me. I thought, well, that's nice. What have I done? This other boy wasn't very nice. I won't mention his name in case he's still around. This so-called friend of mine ignored me for the whole week. In the classroom, in the playground, just totally ignored me. I had no idea what I'd done. Well, I hadn't done anything wrong. The following week at school, he came over to me in the playground. "Hi, Ray, how you doing?" I was confused. I thought, what's he doing now? He wasn't with this other lad. I just said, "Oh, I'm all right." And he started chatting to me as if nothing had happened, as if the previous week hadn't happened at all. I thought he was balmy. Something wrong with him. He needs therapy. After that, I was never particularly friendly with him. I'd say hello and stuff like that. Didn't walk to school with him or anything. We had been good friends. We used to meet at the weekend, go over the woods. I don't know what happened for that week. It's weird. Sometime later, he did exactly the same thing again. He came into the classroom. He was a bit late. He came into the classroom and he ignored me again. At lunch, he ignored me. He looked the other way whenever I looked at him. Weird. Anyway, I then left school because I ruptured my liver, which was a blessing in disguise. And, he didn't ask about me. Obviously, the school were told because I was 14. He's not going back to school. My parents told them that he won't be back. Not one kid from that class came to see me. The school never did contact my parents to see whether I was okay. It was 50-50 in hospital. I could have died. No one seemed to care. Lovely, isn't it? I think that's another reason I hated school. But that kid who I've been friends with for years, he never even popped round. He would have heard. The class would have been told, "Oh, he's gone." Anyway, that was that. So you don't need friends. Who needs friends? I did actually bump into him many years later. I was walking along and this car pulled up beside me, a Morris 1000, yeah, the old Morris Minor. And it was him. He got out. "Hi, Ray, do you like my car?" And I looked at it and I said, "Yeah, it's all right." He said, "I've only just got it, just passed my driving test," and all, just showing off, as you always did. And he said, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, it's a Morris 1000, like millions of others, What do you mean?" And he sort of got the message and off he went. And then again in our 30s we bumped into each other in town. "Hi, Ray, how you doing?" I just said, "Yeah, I'm all right," and walked on. So that was the end of that. Change of subject. When you drop something on the floor, why is it that you bend down to pick it up and it takes 3 times to get it? You pick it up and drop it again. You bend down and pick it up and it goes back down again. It takes 3 times to pick it up. Why is that? Explain the science behind that, the physics. Any scientists on board? It happens again and again, doesn't it? You drop a pen. You go to pick it up like that and drop it again. Pick it up, drop it again. 3rd time you get hold of the pen. Do you find... Talking rubbish. Do you find that? Raise Rants at protonmail.com. Let me know. Why is that? I need to know. We're going to have quite a few changes of subject because there's a lot to talk about. As I said, I went to watch a programme the other day. I was just waiting. I forget what I was waiting for. Put the telly on. And there's Birds of a Feather on. Do you remember Birds of a Feather? It had just started. I thought that'll do with Linda. What's her name? I can't remember the names. The 2 sisters, sharing a house together. This notice came up on the screen. Contains adult humour and reflects the standards, language and attitudes of its time. Some viewers may find this content offensive. What are they talking about? Are they mad? What a bunch of... I can't believe it. There was nothing offensive about Birds of a Feather. There was no swearing in it, no innuendos or anything like that. There were jokes, of course, but they're perfectly innocent. It's just comedy. I forget when Birds of a Feather... Was it 70s? 1970s? I can't remember. 80s? There's nothing... Why put a notice like that? Nothing offensive in there at all. It was a huge notice right across the screen. Beware, danger, Will Robinson, danger. What a load of rubbish. Don't you just hate TV programmes full of adverts shouting? Another one I tried to watch. The Return of the Railway Children. Was it? Do you remember the Railway Children? Jennifer Agita. I can't hope it's at names. Return of the Railway Children was later on during the war and they got evacuated to a house out in the country. The dialogue in the film was so quiet I had to turn up the volume. Then the music blasts your head off. Why do they do this? Why can't they get audio levels correct? Surely this day and age with the technology they could get the audio correct. It's the same with TV adverts, isn't it? You're watching a film or whatever, then the TV adverts come on and blow your head off. You have to turn it down. Then the programme starts and you can't hear what they're saying. I don't know who to blame. They're all idiots, bunch of idiots, a lot of them. What else have I got written here? Prefabricated buildings, prefabs. Do you remember last Sunday, wasn't it? I mentioned prefabs. I said I'll be talking about that later. And I never did. I listened to Sunday's episode and I thought, oh yes, prefabs. What did I say about that? And I didn't. I will talk about them now. Did you see the photos I took of the prefabricated building at the museum we went to in Hampshire? raiserants.info. The photos are all there of the inside. What happened? After the war, thousands of houses had been bombed. People had nowhere to live. So what they did, they can't rebuild the houses. It would take a long time. So they put up these prefabricated buildings. And they were quite nice, actually. They weren't bad. If you've seen the photos, they weren't bad at all. You've got a lounge, couple of bedrooms, kitchen, bathroom, toilet. Quite nice place. Well, it's better than nowhere to live. Near us, when I was young, there was a huge green in the middle of this council estate. A huge green. Lovely grass where the kids played in the summer. They put a load of prefab buildings on that. Loads of them. In fact, there were 2 bits of grass. There was another big area to the side of that, and they covered them in these prefabricated bungalows. And I think they're still there now. Do you know, I must go and have a look. I believe they're still there now. They were meant to be temporary buildings, just while everything was being rebuilt after the war. But of course they remained, as things do in Britain. We're still using Victorian machinery. Well, I don't know about now, but we were in my day when I was young. A lot of Victorian machinery was still in use. We never seemed to progress. We didn't invest in anything. So that's what the prefabs were all about. I must go and have a look to see whether they're still there. Of course, the local kids, lost that huge area of grass. They used to play football there and all sorts. It was lovely. And it's all gone now. Every little bit of land, you get a little bit between gardens at the back of some houses. Oh, look, we can get 2 houses in there. And the local planning said, yeah, you can do that. They're squashing houses in everywhere. I don't know why that is. Is it that they don't want the town to expand outwards? They want to squash houses in every inch of land inside the town? Or do they want to do... Actually, they want to do both, don't they? Because they're trying to join our town here with other villages. So it's all one thing. Anyway, I've ranted about that in the past, haven't I? I've run out of notes. That's it. Hope I didn't bore you too much with bits and pieces. If you've anything to say, anything to moan about or rant about, raise rants at protonmail.com. Be great to hear from you. I shall leave you in peace. I hope you have a good week, or the good rest of the week that's left. See you at the weekend. Look after yourselves. Be good. If you're bad, don't get caught. Has anyone got caught? No one ever did email me and say, yes, I got caught. I got banged up in the clink. Is it the clink? Why do they call it the clink? Or is it the clank? Take care, look after yourselves. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye for now.